Good morning and welcome everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind, your encouragement for job seekers every Friday morning from 9:15 to 10:15 Eastern. We're delighted to have you here. My name is Shira Lotzar. I am a higher purpose champion. I am an association recruiter and I'm also a career coach. I love to do resumes and LinkedIn profiles and help folks with their brand and get connected to employers in a really compelling way. I'm also the co-founder and volunteer at boomerworks.org. We are a charitable organization helping professionals age 50 plus to re-career into self-employment. Check us out at boomerworks.org. So today, here are a few of our guest experts, our regulars, who have been such a delight to have. So Corliss Jackson is a career coach in all things federal government resumes. So glad to have you, Corliss. Kiki L'Italien, back from her move. Yay, Kiki, thank you. She's a video image expert and our hostess with the mostest for chats. We've got Vern Schellinger, who is a career coach and master relationship builder, and Rick Webb, who is all things recruiter, government contractors. So thanks for joining us all. Okay, so our normal format is going to be that we're going to start with a 10-minute breakout. And in that breakout, you'll identify your group's top questions, and please make sure to assign a scribe to capture your questions, and then make sure to post them in the main room. So don't post them in the chat in your breakout. Wait till the main room, and then you can post them there. Also during that conversation, make sure to share any best practices from your job search, and then do make sure that everybody has equal time to share. All right, so then we're going to have a group discussion. And in the group discussion, please make sure to remain muted so we can kind of have the experts answer your questions. Then make sure to post your questions in the chat. If there's any unanswered questions, you're welcome to email me privately. I'll make sure to have somebody get them answered, myself or someone else. At 10:05, we're going to do speed networking. Okay, so this is one of those weeks where we're going to flip to what we're calling the round robin. Okay, so for those of you who've been regulars, you've known that we go back and forth now. So one week we'll do a 10-minute breakout room where you can share your goals. Today is going to be the Hollywood Squares. So get ready, where you're at the very, very end of our meeting, you're going to have 10 seconds, not 15, not 20, 10 seconds to share what you're looking for, right? So whether you want to just mention your career field and or the industry or sector that you're in or that you're going into, but that's really it, right? What kind of job, and if you have an industry expertise, and then we'll move on because we've got lots of people we got to get through. So no backstory about your career history, just where you're going. All right, and then keep in touch with our Power Networking spreadsheet, which is a bit.ly link we're going to put in the chat in just a minute. The recording of the Q&A is going to be posted here on my website. And then we have a job search resources page with tips and tricks and articles and books and so forth. So Kiki is going to put that in the chat box right now. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get into our breakouts. So give me one moment while I get that all set up. All right, and you've got 10 minutes to connect, and we'll see you back here in 10. And for those who are watching the recording, please go ahead and fast forward about 10 minutes, 9.5 minutes, and we'll see you back. Ah, good, you're back. All right, Corliss, I'm going to put you in a room.
Thank you.
And Tatiana, we have you assigned to a room. Oh, I see. That's right. She's unavailable. Okay. Hi, Loretta. We are in breakout rooms for just another couple of minutes, so I'll put you in one right now. Hey, Sandra. Good to see you. We're coming back from breakouts in just a sec.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. You're on mute, Sandra.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I saw your mouth open.
Yes, I clicked on too early. The warning came up, and next thing I know, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's okay. We're glad to have
What
you.
happens when you don't finish your coffee?
There you go. Drink a last sip of tea.
But thank you so much for your hosting this and volunteering all of your skills and experience each week. I can imagine how much that takes.
Well, it's a pleasure and a blessing to help out. All right, well, good to see everyone. Hopefully that was a good start to your networking morning. All right, so before we get going with the Q&A, which by the way, if you were the scribe of your group, go ahead and put your questions in the chat box. So what I wanted to mention to you guys is, lost something there. So Kiki is going to put in the chat box right now a video link. So this past week, I presented to a local job seeker group called 40 Plus, and the topic was accessing the hidden job market, which is all about networking. And I have this concept, and I'm going to share it very briefly with you right here, but you're certainly welcome to review this video. So I have a concept in networking that I call the family member networking. So some of you might have received my newsletter this week, which was actually on that very topic, and it broke the whole thing down. But I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you in just real kind of simple language. But like I said, the video is an hour and a half and goes into this more depth. The idea is that when you access your family member networking, you can do it in 3 different ways. Meaning, first of all, you can look at the people with whom you have close, trusted relationships with. So I break them down into twins, siblings, first cousins, and second cousins. So your twin is somebody who you know them by voice, they know you by voice, they'll come and dance at your wedding, right? That kind of person. That is a person who wants to proactively help you. They're gonna do everything they can to help you with your job search. Excuse me. Your sibling is somebody who you're close to, right? You're very friendly, they're very willing to help you. They'll do what they can. They may not be as proactive, but they're going to do what you can. And they're someone you can reach out to on a regular basis. Your first cousin is somebody you've had a relationship with, maybe a fairly decent one. Maybe you just haven't talked to them in a while. And your second cousin is someone who was a past relationship, could even be a really long time ago, but it's resurrectable. And this is how you really want to prioritize your networking. The people who are most likely to proactively help you are the people you want to spend the most time with. But you want to contrast that with your family members who are professional or industry. So professional are the ones that your twins are the ones who do exactly what you do professionally. Why is that so important? Because when recruiters are recruiting, they are recruiting your twins. In other words, they're looking for people who do what you do. Hold on to that. They're looking for people who do what you do. So if you're a project manager and you've got PMP skills and all this stuff, somebody's coming for a project manager, they are asking that person, who do you know that would be a good fit for this job? And the recruiter is hoping and praying that that person, your twin, will say, it's not right for me, but it's right for Jamie, okay? So, and then you go on down the line. A sibling is somebody who does something similar to what you do. A first cousin understands what you do, and a second cousin is familiar with what you do. And so you want to keep prioritizing your networking toward the people who are closer and closer to your twins. And the same thing with industry. People in your industry, your twins are in your industry. Your siblings are the people who are similar to your industry, and so forth and so on. So anyway, this video goes into all kinds of detail. Hopefully it'll help you. All right, so that was a little preamble, but we have some questions here that Kiki is going to help us run through. So Kiki, you want to start the chat box?
You bet. So it's interesting because we have, as usual, we have a combination of very specific questions and some that are more general for everyone. So I'm going to try to, instead of going directly in the line, I'm going to try to keep it on track, do a couple of specific, then go for more general. All right. So for the specific question, how to find contract work with a finance background?
How to find contract work with a finance background.
Yes.
That's interesting. Well, first of all, in fact, Michelle is on this call, thankfully. So Michelle Wright is one of our experts, and she is with Justin Bradley. And so I know that, and I'm going to have you speak just a second, Michelle, on your side of things, but there is the official contract world, AKA through a search firm. So Michelle can talk about that in a second. And then there's just contract work that is on your own, meaning you're just a 1099. Maybe you come across an opportunity through a colleague. In fact, that's often how these things happen, along the lines of the networking that I was just talking about. So if you know people who are colleagues, friends, what have you, who work at organizations who have a finance department, who have an accounting department, oftentimes those people will have kind of a one-off need. And if that's the case, if they know that you're available and you're on the market, they can tap you, right, for that kind of thing. So that's just that. Michelle, do you want to mention your side of things?
Sure. In terms of working with a firm, a lot of companies have relationships with larger companies that they usually have like high volume needs for short-term assistance or project-based work. So certainly reaching out to recruiting firms who have those programs. So ours is called the Contingent Workforce Staffing group, and then there's other firms that have specific just contracting based groups as well. So you may, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I can put you in contact with our partner Rachel, who leads that group, but you may want to look at other firms as well that have those practices.
Yeah, so Justin Bradley is one. That's where Michelle works. I happen to know there's another one called Cordia Partners, C-O-R-D-I-A Partners. Those are the two that I know off the top of my head that are finance related. But ask your colleagues. If you have colleagues in the finance and accounting world, see who they've used in the past, what recruiters they've used, because sometimes recruiters don't just do permanent placement, rather, in other words, traditional search, they also might do contract work. So ask your colleagues what recruiters they've been, they might be able to refer you. Okay, Kiki, next question.
All right, so this is a really important question. Corliss answered it in the chat, but since people who watch the recording later don't have access to it, I think it's worth going into. When is it too late in terms of age to apply for a federal job?
Corliss?
Yes. So the blessing, I guess, with the federal government is that your salary is pre-negotiated, and in the corporate sector, your salary, your age equals your salary, right? So the more mature you are, the more seasoned you are, the more experience you bring to the table, you're going to command a higher salary. So when you're looking at the federal government, because your salary is pre-negotiated, and it's in a range already, that's kind of off the table and you don't have to really address that. Now what they're looking at is your skills and what you bring and your personality, and if you're going to be a good member of the community there. So you can negotiate your salary once you get an offer, but it's really not the primary thing there, because everybody knows the elephant in the room is out, and everybody knows what the salary range is, and everybody knows what you're going to get offered. It's going to be between X and Y. So age really isn't a factor. There's also a lot, there's laws against ageism and discrimination and all that are a little bit more stringent in the federal government, although kind of the same laws exist. But, if you're concerned about age, the federal government really is the way to go, because they pay you for your experience. They pay you for being seasoned and being mature. That's it.
Thank you, Corliss. Appreciate that. All right, Kiki.
All right, this is about cycles of motivation. How do you stay motivated in the job search?
Oh, that's a great question. So many responses to that. Rick, I'm going to toss that to you right now, just in part because I know you had done a long job search yourself before you got your recruiting role. So do you want to give some tips?
And you must have been led, because that was our discussion in our small group. Motivation is a huge factor in staying motivated to search, but one of the things that we talked about was it's okay to take a day off. You don't have to, I said this a few weeks ago, that a job search is a job, but you also need days off to recharge. And I think one of the keys is not to be isolated, right? You need to, as Shira was talking about, you want to have friends and family. And for me, my church was important, because not only from a networking perspective, but just people that can feed into you and keep you positive. I was out of work for 14 months, and I was telling my group that the day that I remember the most during that 14 months, I was at a Subway. I had just gotten my tax information. I had made $12,000 that year in 2008. And I was standing at a Subway, and I saw someone outside the Subway that was homeless and hungry. And I went out and I said, come on in, I'm going to buy you lunch. And that was the best day in those months. So volunteering, doing things for others, because there's always someone that's in a worse situation. Yeah. And those type of things help you stay motivated, I think, and give you perspective.
That's great, Rick. Be a go-giver.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful tip. Thank you for that.
All right. So, sorry about that.
I was going to say, it was Vern. I was going to toss to you as well. Do you have any tips as well?
Yeah. Sorry, I was muted. I was saying, can I ask something? And I was muted. Yeah, I think the most classic thing I heard from a good colleague of mine when I was her career coach, she said, going through the job search is like swimming through molasses. It's just a grind. And as Rick said, you need to take a day off. You need to have support from others. Volunteering, I just can't emphasize that enough, because psychologically, when you're volunteering and you're helping people, you're actually doing something and you feel good about it. And so much of the job search is doing the same thing over and over again, and often not getting any results, applying for a job and not hearing from them. And it's a grind. It's an emotional roller coaster. So I can't say enough about take care of yourself, you know, eat right, exercise, stay healthy, get your support group in place, and be motivated. And because if any of that negative feelings, you know, slips into the interview, then that can hurt you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I would just say from a networking perspective, you know, there used to be an expression, never eat lunch alone. So I'll just make it 2021 appropriate, never have a Zoom coffee alone, right? So in other words, really try to go for one a day. I mean that. Like, you know how they say with exercise, like if you set your goal for 5 days a week, you know, you'll end up at 3, you'll end up at 2, right? All that. So same thing with networking. You want to try to have a networking call every day. And, you know, again, go after your twins, go after the people who know you, like you, trust you, people who are your champions, the people who want to help you, but not just them, right? But those are good people to pepper in because they're really encouraging. They're really in your corner, but you want to keep on expanding it out. Use LinkedIn, right? Go and find people who do what you do, or people who do things that are similar, who really going to be in your corner, who need to hear that you are in the market, so that they can keep you in mind, right? Be a go-giver, have those conversations with those folks, ask them what they're doing. What are the challenges that are keeping them up at night? How can you be a resource to them? This isn't just about you and your search, right? Everybody's got needs. And you know, it could even be a personal need that the person has. Do your best to have coffees with people, even on Zoom, in a way that's highly relational, where you're asking about them, you're being a resource, and then hopefully they'll be a resource to you as well, right? So at least one day, try for those. All right, Kiki?
Okay, so this is related to the motivation, because one of the things that Vern brought up was talking about what a grind it is, how it's like swimming through molasses. And these two questions directly relate to that. And that is about the lack of courtesy that job seekers are given after interviews. You know, how do you handle dealing with that lack of courtesy? An example was a recruiter contacted me and asked me to apply for a position, which I did after verifying they really are a recruiter. This recruiter did not get back to me with any update. What does this mean? Why wouldn't I hear back? And so let's start there. That's a couple of things that are all about, like, you know, what happens when we are treated poorly, and also, like, why would it be that we're treated poorly? Why are we not hearing back in some cases?
Yeah, you know, we can make excuses all day long, and we can, like, there are a lot of reasons for it. I wish that all recruiters got back to all candidates in a timely way, and were able to update them on the situation. The reality is that somebody whose title is recruiter, particularly if there was an internal recruiter, right? Even someone like Rick, right? So Rick is an internal recruiter at a government contracting firm, contrasted to somebody like Michelle or even me, who we're third-party recruiters, meaning we work with external clients. But particularly internal recruiters, you know that expression, busier than a one-armed paper hanger? It's true. These are individuals who could have 30 to 50 open requisitions, meaning open jobs on their desk. Even third-party recruiters, right? We are dealing with multiple clients, tons of candidates, and it's really just a volume issue. I wish that everybody was able to, or had the right tracking system to follow up with all the candidates on a regular basis and keep them posted. But the reality is that it's just voluminous, and especially in certain kinds of industries. So on behalf of all recruiters, I sincerely apologize that you're not hearing back from people in the way that you want, but it's just the reality. And then even more so, I'd say, if you're dealing with an HR person, right? An HR person who is not even a dedicated recruiter, because recruiting is actually one of the last things on their list. They got every other kind of HR issue deal going on, right? They've got COVID-related issues now. They've got payroll, they got compensation and benefits and employer relations and all these different things. And so the reality is, this is just what it is. We've got super busy people, and especially now, I mean, it's been this way for a long time, but I'd even say with COVID, you know, people starting to work from home, these employers that have been working from home, they're working nonstop because there is no break. There is just no break now. People turn on their computer when they get into the office, and they don't turn it off until like late at night sometimes. And it's just back to back to back. And so this is just a pressureful situation. That said, this is why your network is just so important. In fact, I'll just share with you without naming names. I happen to be in a situation where I've been, if you will, shepherding a process for somebody here on this call who's with us today. This is somebody who has been a regular attendee here, and I happened to hear of a job opening through my network, through an HR person, and I presented this person's information. This is several weeks ago. And my friend, the HR person, she said, "Oh, great, happy to talk to her." Well, nothing happened. The person here on this call wrote me back once, twice, said, "Hey, I haven't heard from the HR person." So I stepped in and said, "Hey, HR person, what's going on?" She said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. COVID, blah, blah, this, that, the other." And so finally, I shepherded it along. We finally got to talk like yesterday, okay? And I say that because that's just one example of many of a person who is just overwhelmed on their side. And this person here on this call had no idea. Why would she know, right? She doesn't know what's going on in the back end. So just try to, again, pack your patience. I always talk, pack your patience. But at the same time, if there is somebody who can be a me, right, help to shepherd this, anybody who's an internal champion, if you have an internal champion, somebody who has gotten your resume noticed by HR, tap that person again very gently and say, "Hey, so-and-so, thanks so much for getting my resume noticed. Either the recruiter did reach out or they didn't reach out, whatever the situation is, would you mind following up with your contact to see what the status of my application is?" Just a little niggle is fine. Do you want to be reaching out to the recruiter every day, every week? No, that's a little bit overwhelming. But at the same time, if that recruiter reached out and didn't follow up the way that they should, reach out again. It's okay. Don't overdo it, but very gently, a little tickle, okay, is okay. You just have to sort of balance it out. Don't be too aggressive, right? Too pushy, because they're very, very busy. At the same time, a little bit of a prompt can be helpful.
So what is the general rule of thumb for that, again, for those folks who haven't heard it before? What's a general good rule of thumb for following up?
Yeah, so for following up, depending on the situation, right? So if you have not heard at all from the employer, like you've applied and you've heard nothing. So first of all, again, try to find an internal champion. Go to LinkedIn, pop in the name of the organization, see if there's anybody there in LinkedIn who works there, who or who's a second level contact and where you have a mutual first level, and that person can get you noticed. So that's the first. That's not a follow-up thing. That's just getting yourself noticed. If you still have not heard, it's okay to reach out once just to say, "I want to make sure that my application was received." That's okay. But once the recruiter has reached out to you and has expressed some sort of interest, right away, try to get from them what the process is and when you should expect to hear back again. Try to get them to say something. So they said, "Hey, I've expressed an interest, and we have an interest in you." Let's say you had a phone interview, right? At the end of that phone interview, say, "What is your process? When can I expect to hear back?" They should say something. A week, 2, 3, whatever it is. Now, of course, everything takes longer than you think it will. So they've said 2 weeks. It's really, they haven't called you back in 2 weeks. It's okay. Wait another week. Wait a little bit of time after they've said that this is the time I'm going to get back to you. Reach out one time. "Hey, just wanted to re-express my interest, see where you're at in the search process. Do you know when I'll have a sense of next steps?" That kind of thing. Just a little tickle, right? So be appropriate, right? Get the parameters, go a little bit beyond that, and follow up once. Again, if you have an internal champion and that person can help you, that would be good. So that's kind of the general rule of thumb. Rick or Mary?
Well, yeah, I just make the point of do everything that Shira said to do, and maybe go a little bit longer than, keep pinging them. But at some point, after a certain period of time, just, you just got to move on, because you're probably never going to hear from that recruiter.
Well, and that's the thing. You always want to think of this like being a gardener, right? You plant lots of seeds. You don't expect all the seeds to grow. They're just not. Some of the birds are going to eat them, whatever, right? Stuff happens.
Yeah.
It's just lots and lots and lots. Do not hold emotionally. Don't invest yourself in that one opportunity that isn't going to work, because you are one. They might be the thing that you're holding on to, but you're only one of many candidates that they're vetting. Okay, so you're one of many, but they're only one for you. So pack your patience for that. Rick?
Hey, Shara, I just want to give a real life example. So, one, you have to have thick skin because here I work for a small company, about 70 people. I recruit, I do all the employee engagement and online learning. And now they've pulled me into a contract that they're onboarding at IRS. So I'm doing 3 things, and it's a cybersecurity contract. I have in our applicant tracking system, I have 640 people that have applied for cybersecurity positions. So, I mean, we try to get back with people, so we are overwhelmed. So what Shira is saying, and I'm not saying there's an excuse for that, but it's just, I mean, there aren't enough hours in the day sometimes because we're not just recruiting. I could be a lot more conscientious if I was just recruiting. So small companies, you kind of have that issue.
Yeah, and it all happened, and it all started way back when we went digital, right? I'm seriously, and a lot of us remember the pre-digital days, right? Like the envelope, okay? The cardstock stationery. I mean, seriously, it feels like the dark ages, but it's true. Back in the day, fewer applications, fewer people. It was a lot more streamlined system. Now, hit the send button, and now thousands of people apply for the one job, which means it's overwhelming for these recruiters. So that's why we have calls like this to help you navigate it. But that's the reason why you're not hearing back a lot of times that like you want to.
Yeah.
Kiki?
All right. So this person needs an answer right now. They're currently working. The contract ends June 1st. They're looking for a new position. Do they take the name of the company off the resume and LinkedIn so a potential employer does not contact those people before the contract ends? I'm really worried about being let go early if the current company finds out that they're looking.
Rick, can I toss that to you because that's much more in your world.
I'm sorry, Shira. I was typing something to someone in the group, so I did not hear that.
Let me run through it one more time. So the person's currently working and the contract ends June 1st. This person's looking for a new position. Do they take the name of the company off of the resume and LinkedIn so a potential employer does not contact them before the contract ends? This person's really worried about being let go early if suddenly it's discovered that they're looking now for another job.
It depends on the individual company. Sometimes companies that know they're losing a contract will tell their people to, it's okay to start looking. Other times people will make a note saying, please do not contact current employer, and any ethical recruiter will respect that. So I think it's kind of a communication piece. I've also had people send over resumes without their name on the top. It just says job seeker or something like that. But a way to get a hold of them. So if I look at their skills and say they fit something perfectly, I will contact them even though it doesn't have their name on it. So there's a variance of ways to do that. But I think most companies, once they realize they're losing a contract, this is not something new to Washington, D.C. It happens all the time. And there's transition of people from contract to contract. So there's just you just have to get the information and make the best choice for you, I think.
I guess I would also add, it's almost the end of April, and if the contract's up June 1st, even if you're applying for a job, it's going to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks. My guess would be you'd be able to finish the contract before you would land another job.
And if you know you're going to lose it, you need to do what's best for you.
That's right. Yeah.
That is the ultimate. It doesn't matter as a company. I even tell people, I said, look, everything we're doing, I understand you have a family. That's number one. You and your family, you make the best decision for you.
Yeah, and I can't imagine why an employer would let you go if the contract is about to end. I mean, they want you there on the job. They're fulfilling a contractual obligation to their client. Why would they let you go because you're looking for a new job? That doesn't.
Yeah.
Should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to
Alright.
lose that skill efficiency that they have and have to train someone for the last 2 months of a contract,
That would.
because they may not even find someone at that point.
I don't see a whole lot of risk there. Okay.
All right. How do I find out where I can be the most useful based on my background? With whom to speak? With whom to meet? And by the way, is there a list of management consulting organizations? So there's a lot to go into here, but I mean, how does this person figure out where they can be most useful based on their background? Let's start there.
Yeah. How long do you have? I'm not even quite sure. Where do you even tackle that? Because that has a lot to do with your skills and your motivators, your background and your interests, as well as where can you add the most value to employers right away. You know, we talk about this a lot here, that employers are always trying to mitigate their risk in the hire, which means that your balancing act is trying to figure out something that's going to appeal to you, right? Where your career goals are going to be fulfilled, but also their business goals are going to be achieved. That's the dance that we're always trying to figure out, which is a much longer conversation. What I would suggest as a quick start is to take an inventory of your skills in a very particular way. I'm going to share with you this, and I've shared this before, but I'm just going to do one of the, there's an exercise I call Passiontivity. It has 4 boxes and it looks at 4 different areas, right? So area number 1 is what I call high skill, high motivation. So the skills that you have where you're highly skilled and highly motivated. You're a rock star and you love doing this work. That's where you're going to get most energy. That is where you're going to be able to promote yourself even the best, because you know you've got credible skills, talent, interest, accomplishments, and you want your brand to be focused more in that direction. Secondly would be stopgap work. So areas of high skill, low motivation, where you're highly skilled and not particularly motivated to do that work. I mean, you'll tolerate it, right? But it's not areas that you're going to want to focus on in your branding. The third would be areas of professional growth. So high motivation, low skill. That's where you want to develop your skills. And then fourthly, low skill, low motivation, which is disengagement. Those are the things you want to stay away from. So it's quadrant number 1, really, high skill, high motivation. That's going to be a really fantastic way for you to narrow in the kind of work you want to be doing that also aligns with hopefully what an employer wants you to do, because your career goals and their business goals are going to align the most. Okay, so that's one of my quick answers for that. Rick, Vern, or Michelle, or Corliss, even? Anything else, Dan?
Based on what Shira just said, high skills, high motivation, I would start with the people you know the best and talk to them. Talk to your network, the people you know the best, and talk about that, and talk about where you want to go, and what do they see, what do they know about you. Get some feedback from them, and then slowly but surely use that as you broaden your network to in terms of a job search for those types of opportunities.
Yeah. Again, go back and also remember, go to the people who not only know you, like you, trust you, but remember, find the people who do what you do.
You do. Yes.
Always go for them. They are not your competitors, people. People who do what you do are not your competitors. They are your collaborators. They are the people who will say the job's not right for me, but I know who it's right for, because you do the same thing. Recruiters are going after your twins.
And that's why it's always important as part of your network to have a professional network.
Yes.
If you're in human resources, you're part of SHRM, you're part of the HR Leadership Forum in DC. If you're in the finance area, there's a financial executives networking group. Those are all of your professionals. Whatever profession you're in, there is an association or a group of individuals, and you should be a member of that. You should be attending their events. You should try to stay in touch with those folks.
Yeah, and most of those national associations have local chapters, especially here in the DC area. Go after the local chapters. That's where a lot of networking happens. I will tell you, I've seen it. In fact, several of us on this call are a member of what's called ASAE, the American Society of Association Executives, right? Which is the Association for Associations. And we see people get jobs all the time, because it's all through that network. You volunteer, you show up, you know people, you give, you write, you talk, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're known, And when you're known, the more likely you're going to be referred.
Okay. So do we have time for one more question?
We do.
Okay. All right. So this is an ATS question. If they attach the resume and then are given the option to enter work experience too, should they then put the same information, like cut and paste from the resume, or is it a better idea to fill it up with a lot more text, fully explaining the last 5 jobs? How much information is actually recommended for ATS manual entry?
Rick, I'm going to punt that to you. You're on mute.
I was afraid you were going to say that, Sherry. It's okay. So it's dependent on ATS systems. Okay. So because I was doing the same thing when I was out of work, I was attaching my resume because it's so much easier, and why aren't they looking at the resume? It's attached. But I think a good balance would be to attach your resume and highlight your skills and how you'd be valuable to the corporation and the specifics of the job, the skills that they're looking for. So I would attach the resume and a cover letter that then kind of zeroes in on why I'm a good fit for the position. Because a lot of times when I look at a resume, it's more general, but if they attach a cover letter to it, then I can see how their thought process works as far as how they are a fit for this position. Or I also use it as an elimination piece if they're, if they can't write, if there's misspellings in their cover letter, because if you need attention to detail. So it's important to, try to get a balance there. But whatever you do, it's important that your resume or your experience matches the job. If you just send a generic resume, we're probably not going to try to figure out how you fit. That's all I have to say on that one, Chair.
Well, is there but what about the algorithm, right, Rick? When you're going into your ATS and you're doing a search for somebody and you're putting in keywords, do you know if your ATS is looking at both the resume as well as what's in the work experience section?
Well, when you upload the resume, so it pulls in all the resume information. So it's probably, for me, it's important to see the skills right up front, and if there's skills that are in the job. So like on my resume, I have certain skills right at the top, because as a recruiter with 600 resumes, I only get halfway down the resume to see if I think it's a fit or not. So I try to push things up towards the top. So one, the ATS will see the skill match. And then two, when the recruiter opens it, he or she will see that as well. So I probably didn't answer your question, but I don't know. That's my answer. I am not sure.
It's an art and a science. There is something that I wanted to share with you guys actually, and this was actually publicly this was on LinkedIn last week. It was one of my colleagues here in the association world. And it's a little bit harsh, right? But it's from an employer. It's a small employer. And I just wanted to show this to you because it kind of goes along the lines of what Rick was talking about. And she says, I'm amazed at how many job seekers do not follow clear instructions for what to submit when applying for a position. If you're someone that's applied for a number of jobs and never or rarely gets a response, perhaps an appointment with someone to assist you with your resume cover letter and maybe how to apply to a position based on the description of what an organization is looking for would be helpful. We talk about that all the time. Customize, customize, customize. I do glance at every application that comes in, but if the basic requirements posted in the job listing, including to whom they'll address the letter, are not followed, it's unlikely I'll spend much time looking at your information. It's also clear you didn't even look at my organization before you submitted your resume. So that's just, straight up from one employer. It's so, so, so important that you scour that application, really, really read everything, what they want, requirements, preferred skills, required skills, how to apply. I mean, I myself as a recruiter, I've done this before where I'm very specific in my application section, and I'll even say, please tailor your resume, customize this and that, and write a thoughtful cover letter with this and that. And so many candidates just don't do it, right? So especially if you're really gunning for a job, you make sure that you are doing it exactly as they have requested for you to do it. Really, really read it, because one little thing can screen you out. Remember, the recruiters are in the job of screening people out, not screening people in, because they have very little time to recruit, to interview. So if they have like Rick said, 640 applicants. Rick does not have time to interview 640 people. You know, he may barely have time to interview 10, you know, so he's screening out so he can get to the few people that he has time to screen in. And they're looking for things to screen out. So make sure you follow instructions. Yes, Carlos.
I just want to add to that real quickly. So I just recruited for about, 12 or so positions for a small nonprofit organization. And one of the things I did was had people submit an interview, like a assessment question. I had a couple assessment questions, asked them to submit a 10 to 15 minute video. Most of the people didn't do it, but the people who did it were fabulous. And I hired 12 people from LinkedIn, a LinkedIn job posting. And the people, I'm just encouraging you, 10 minutes is not much in a day of 12, 24 hours. Just do it, because you'll stand out from the competition.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Whatever the requirement is, figure out how to do it. If it's a job you're going, you really want, it's worth the effort.
Yeah. Shira, this is Vern. Before we move into the next section, you wanted me to remind you, I had a networking conversation with a colleague of mine who is a recruiter, works for an HR consulting firm, and she has 2 HR positions she's recruiting for. So anyone in the HR world that's on the call, you may want to check with you, Shira.
Yes, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the actually I'm posting them in the chat here. I have them actually on my file, and I saved them for today. So here they are: a head of talent acquisition and a director of HR. So for those who are in the HR world or know people who are, those are 2 live opportunities.
And those jobs again are part of what Shira refers to as the hidden job market.
Right.
When I talked to Laura, she said, sometimes I post jobs on LinkedIn and sometimes I don't.
Right.
Sometimes I just put the position together and send it out to my close resume or my close network, and I know I'll get a bunch of qualified applicants.
Exactly right.
So and that call was the result of Dan Moss reaching out to me, because he was trying to get to a position at the Conservation Fund. He did the hard work, looked up at LinkedIn, looked and saw who I was connected to, who was the director of HR at the Conservation Fund. Laura was a mutual connection. I reached out to Laura. So Laura said, I'll introduce you to Joyce. Unfortunately, Joyce is no longer there. So it became a dead end. But out of that networking call, I found 2 positions that I'm now sharing with Shira and the group. So
exactly, that's how it works. This is why we emphasize networking. You never know who knows who. Have those Zoom coffees every day. Talk to your twins, talk to your siblings, get out there, right? Always ask for the referral. Always ask for the referral. Good. All right. So speaking of networking, we're going to transition here into our Hollywood Squares round robin. So get ready with your 10-second intro. All right. And what'll happen is we'll go around the room. You just state your name, thank you, Kiki, the role you want, and or the industry that you're looking in, but that's it. No, please, 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 no backstory about your career history. Unfortunately, you don't have time for that. Just the future. Your name, the role you want, and or the industry. And then after, if you're comfortable with this, in the chat box, put that in there in the chat. Name, role, industry, and your email address, so that anyone else on the Hollywood Squares can play the game of concentration and say, oh, wow, I know somebody. And then you start hooking people up, okay? You are one of those people who's a twin, a sibling, a first cousin to that person. Really good idea for you guys to hook up. You never know, right, where the synergies are going to be. Arrange a Zoom coffee with that person after today's meeting, all right? So you guys can continue to stay in touch. You never know who knows who. All right, so with that, I'm just going to go around my squares, and I'm going to start with Sandra. Sandra George, go for it. Before you go, Sandra, would everybody go ahead and unmute themselves right now, unless you've got some dogs barking in the background, just so that we don't have to go through the muting, unmuting process. Okay? All right, Sandra?
Good morning, Sandra George. I'm looking for roles in a talent acquisition, either talent acquisition lead, talent acquisition manager, preferably in the federal government or GovCon.
And there you go. That job was just posted for you.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Dan Moss.
Hi, I'm Dan Moss. I'm looking for something in the government relations / advocacy / lobbying space, ideally in the environmental arena. Thanks, Shira.
Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie Fedchalk. I am looking for an executive director position in the nonprofit world. Thanks.
Thanks. Sandy Fillion.
Sandy Fillion, and I'm looking for remote work if possible and doing bookkeeping or executive assistant type work. And I'd like to do it for a nonprofit or someone who is making a positive impact on our culture and our society.
Thank you, Sandy. And new Andrew.
Hi, I'm Anu Andrew. I'm looking for a financial leadership role or a project management role. And it's any field ideally works because they need finance and lead and project management. So thank you.
Thank you. Scott Boudreau. Scott, are you with us? Okay. Move on to Ruth DeHart.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. My area of expertise is in organizational change, and I help leaders and their teams become empowered workplaces. I'm specifically targeting the senior living, senior housing market.
Thanks, Ruth. Laura Cohen.
Laura Cohen. I'm looking for a federal or state position in healthcare system transformation, person-centered care, strategic leadership, and stakeholder engagement.
Thanks, Laura. Ty Smith.
My name is Ty Smith. I'm looking for a position as a customer advocate or in pension management in either government, association, or financial.
Thanks, Ty. Jacqueline Woodward.
Yeah. Yes. Morning, everybody. I am in the federal space, but I'm open to public or private sector positions. Also looking at public health, stakeholder engagement, and patient advocacy.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Carolyn Hurley.
Hi, Caroline Hurley here. I'm a government relations lawyer, lobbyist, and ideally I could find a position in the high-tech industry doing their tax policy work.
Thank you. Craig Muckle.
Good morning, Craig Muckle. I'm looking for a communications, media relations, government affairs role, leadership ideally in either corporate or association. And thank you very much.
Great, thank you. All right, Dawn Latham.
Hey, good morning, Dawn Latham. I am looking for an executive director or CEO role with an association or nonprofit.
Thank you. John McCamden.
Yeah, Jean Camden, I'm looking for a leadership role in either audit, risk management, or governance and compliance.
Thank you. Hillary.
Hi, I'm Hillary. I'm looking for a marketing or communications director role or a communications consultant role.
Thank you. Jen Eberhardt.
Hi, I'm a job services specialist with the Maryland Department of Labor. I'm not looking for work right now, maybe next year, just trying to learn and help others.
Thanks, Jen. Linda Gross.
My name is Linda Gross, and I'm interested in something along the lines of membership services or fundraising with a nonprofit, but I've learned to keep my options open and to any industry.
Thank you. Paula Alston.
Hi, I'm actually looking for a program manager position in the healthcare space or an event manager also in the healthcare space, but I'm open to other industries as well.
Thank you. Tatiana Retiring.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tatiana Retiring. I'm looking for a data analyst or data scientist, preferably in the federal government.
Thank you. Elena Shapina.
Yes, hello, my name is Elena Shapina, and I'm working for the finance contract work with a private small to mid-sized corporation, any industry.
Great, thank you. Shuli?
Yes, Shuli Madnik, and I'm a photographer
writer, journalist, photojournalist, and I'm looking for specifically in the gallery, in the museum industry, creative jobs, photography, exhibits, curation, curating exhibits, stuff like that, any creative position within my realm in the museum industry.
Great, thank you. And then finally, Julia Taylor. Julia, are you with us? Okay. All right, so did I miss anybody? Everybody good? Okay, so what I'd like to do is just wrap up by sharing with you guys our contact information here for our experts. So I'm going to leave this up here for just a second. Oops, sorry. Oops, right there. So if any of you would like to contact us, feel free to take a screenshot of this page, and we're happy to connect with you. All right. There are a number of free job support groups here in the DC area, which of course are all online right now. All of these are free, with the minor exception of JCA, which offers a $75 week-long career gateway bootcamp type of situation. They're all wonderful groups. Highly recommend them all. If you're interested in my bi-weekly newsletter, feel free to send me an email. I know a lot of you are on my email list, and for some reason you're not getting them because they're going to spam. So check your spam folder. And if you're still not finding it, write me privately, and I'm happy to forward it along to you.
Sure. Could you put the first page back up at some point?
Sure. Which one? This one?
That one.
Okay. I'll keep it up for another 3 seconds.
We're good. Thank you.
We're good? All right. All right, I do like to end with an inspirational quote from the Bible, and this one is from James. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And along those lines, we do offer now a prayer meeting at the end of this call. So if any of you would like to stay on the call, I'll be leading you all in prayer, and it's been a wonderful time of encouragement for so many people, so feel free to join us. All right, so we've done our round robin, so actually we are good to go. So with that, I'm just going to actually ask if there's anyone who has maybe 1 or 2 last comments, anything you'd like to share that you didn't get to share. Now would be the time.
Thank you, Shira. I'm going to log off. Thank you.
All right, good to see everyone. All right, so we'll go ahead and end the formal part of the meeting, but feel free to stick around for the prayer session if you would like to do so. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Shira.
Bye.
Bye-bye.